They really could have had something with Sam's take as Captain America, but unfortunately, they missed it. What's up everyone and welcome on back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Ben and I talk about the film and TV industry, and I'm glad to have you here. Today I want to talk about how Marvel can learn from Captain America Brave New World. It came out a couple weeks ago and let's be honest, it did not hit the mark both financially and audience-wise, and I wanted to dive into how I personally think Marvel can learn from this. This video is going to be diving into Sam's character development and the issue with crossing over in between film and TV, as well as dive into their marketing campaign, because I really think they botched that entire campaign. And before I start, if anyone wants to comment, Sam Wilson is a DEI hire, and he's not the real Captain America, or like this one commenter I had on one of my past videos who said Marvel should just stick to their source material. You mean the same source material from over 10 years ago when Sam Wilson did in fact become Captain America? That source material? So if you're gonna act like that, or if you have those views in general, genuinely fuck all the way off. I don't want you here. There are unfortunately plenty of places in America and the internet where you can go and be a racist, so please go do that over there and not here. I genuinely don't give two fucks about you, your view, or even getting your view. Fuck all the way off. Now that the spicy part of the video is out of the way and hopefully all the racists are gone, let's get to the actual video. I think what Marvel should learn is to never ever cross over between their film and TV shows ever again. It makes character development really awkward and it hurts the characters' on-screen relationships. I get why Marvel dove into TV and they wanted to make their TV shows. They had Disney Plus, they had Mickey Mouse down their neck being like, hold on, let me try Mickey Mouse. Oh, let's make some more money. See how that worked out. But now after this movie, I think they've proven that this just does not work out. Brave New World was a continuation of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and it really showed, and not in a good way. It felt like an awkward gap for Sam Wilson rather than a fresh start, which is what it should have been. Now, I really enjoyed when Sam was doubting himself right after the aerial fight over the Celestial Island, wondering if he really is the new Captain America, doubting himself, wondering if Steve made the right call in choosing Sam. But the problem with that scene is nothing in the film before this signals that he's doubting himself, and more importantly, he already went on that same character journey years ago in the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. All of that show was Sam doubting himself and then taking up the mantle of Captain America, knowing he can be Captain America, knowing he's going to be a different Captain America, understanding what it means to be the new Captain America and taking on those responsibilities and those burdens. But they still wanted to do that same exact journey in the movie, and because of that, the film didn't feel right. Sam is very confident at the very first part of this film since he has now been Captain America for 2 years at this point in Marvel's timeline. But then he loses that confidence after the aviation battle at the Celestial Island, and then he retreats back into who he was at the very beginning of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier TV show. This made his character development really quite awkward, and it made me feel that all of his development and growth that he had in the TV show should have been saved for this movie instead. It would have been cleaner, made more sense, and in my opinion, it would have had a bigger impact not just on Sam, but cementing him as the new Captain America for this franchise. Sam having doubts about taking on a new role speaks to how the audience kind of feels about Marvel right now. We aren't really sure who the new leader of the Avengers is or what team or characters going forward are going to be the focal point of this cinematic universe going forward. I feel like if they put all of his development into his character in this one movie, going through the same journey as Marvel's audience, it would have really shown where Marvel is now headed. It really was just missing that character growth that they had in the show, because they did a great job of showcasing how Sam is going to be different in a lot of his actions that were just very true to Sam's entire character. Leaning into his strength of being able to connect with people was great. This is something in Sam's DNA since his story started out, with him leading a veterans PTSD group as a counselor, or even in his own show where he talked down Carly, using his own techniques of keeping his back to her, showcasing that he is not a threat. They also did a great job of showcasing how Sam is without the serum and without a suit. I personally loved the full flight sequence where he couldn't hurt the Japanese pilots and he also couldn't hurt the American pilots, and it showcased the theme of his Captain America. He finds other ways to resolve conflict rather than just fighting. Or when he went toe-to-toe with Sidewinder, it showed he doesn't need a suit in order to be a threat and showcased how creative and resourceful he is as Captain America. He doesn't need a serum and he doesn't need any fancy gadgets. Sam Wilson is enough. All of his actions were direct themes to his character. And that would have lined up so perfectly with his character development if they left it in this movie and not the show. He's unsure about being Captain America. He's unsure about living up to the legacy of Steve Rogers, but he doesn't have to because through his actions in the whole film, he proves he's already Captain America, and he will be different from Steve Rogers, but that's okay. That development and internal struggle should have been more at the front and center of this movie, but because the TV show already trekked into this development, they couldn't really showcase it in its full form, which is why I don't think they should ever do TV shows again. They needed that growth to be on screen for this film, and because they didn't, the film suffered. Sam's character growth was not the only thing left over from the show, but it was also Sam's relationship with Joaquin Torres. In The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Sam meets Joaquin for the first time, and then towards the end of the show, Joaquin becomes set to take over the Falcon suit. And this is all fine and dandy, but when the show ended, Sam and Joaquin just barely became friends, and when the movie starts, they are now best buddies. It was quite awkward watching them on screen together, despite them having great chemistry. They joked around quite a bit, and it was very clear that they had a great friendship in the movie, but all of it felt really awkward because that friendship that we saw grew off screen. We never saw that. I honestly think they went this route because based off of the clips and the press days that they had leading up to this film, it seems that Anthony Mackie and Danny Ramirez are very close in real life and they do seem like good buds. Marvel probably saw this and knew that they would be great on screen together, so they upped all the fun moments that they had, which I get. They had great chemistry on and off screen, but as a viewer understanding these characters, it was still weird to see them go from casual work colleagues to absolute work besties without actually seeing them bond. Look back at the Winter Soldier. Sam was introduced to Steve and then they slowly became the friends that they were. We needed to see that progression in Joaquin and Sam. I'm not mad about their friendship, I just wanted to see it grow. And I get it, it's really hard going from the show to the movie, especially since time has passed in the MCU that we just don't get to see. But just to give them a little benefit, I will say they did do a decent job of bridging the gap between the show and the movie in other ways that I personally did not think they were going to do, but they did quite well. I was really worried that a lot of the characters and elements in the show would be hard to set up in the film for those who might have missed the show, which was a lot of people, or for those who completely have forgotten about the movie The Incredible Hulk. And, they did a surprisingly good job. I gotta give them credit where credit is due. They quickly reset up Joaquin, but I was actually more impressed by how well they reset up Isaiah Bradley. I was very nervous that his entire character would not be introduced properly and we wouldn't have quite the grasp on all the pain he suffered, but they did do it well in my opinion, and I'm really glad too because his scenes were just made your heart ache. He was the heart of the film. I was also impressed by the news recap plot element at the very beginning of this film, catching us up to who General Ross is, making sure we knew who he was as a character, since he's only been in about 5 movies altogether, and they were reintroducing his entire character with a recast with Harrison Ford. The Incredible Hulk storylines with Samuel Stearns and Betty Ross could have been a little bit better in my opinion, especially with Samuel Stearns, but it's Marvel. I'm not expecting an Oscar-winning masterpiece. Another quick thing that I just want to touch on that I think Marvel should really work on is blocking and or casting. There's a lot of controversy around Shira Haas, which I'm not going to get into. I don't feel like it's my place to get into, so I'm not going to dive into that. But I am concerned about her height. She is absolutely tiny as shit. She was towered over in any scene that she had with any character. Anthony Mackie, Harrison Ford, Danny Ramirez, all of them. She looked so small. All of her scenes were so awkward because of how short she was. She also did not come off as a reasonable superhero being that height. But they could have concealed all of this with either casting a taller person or what they do with any other movie in general with just general blocking or forced perspective, because we know they know how to do that. I looked up her height and she is 5'2" and Anthony Mackie is 5'10". That is quite the difference, but any filmmaker can work with that, right? There's ways to not make her look so tiny. Look even back at Scarlett Johansson and Robert Downey Jr. She's 5'3", he is 5'8", but every single scene with Black Widow, she does not seem small at all against any Avenger, against Chris Evans, against Chris Hemsworth. She doesn't seem small, and she's only 1 inch taller than Shira Haas. They could have figured something out. They could have had lifts in her shoes. They could have done forced perspective like the Lord of the Rings, or just blocking in general. Because every single shot that she was in that was a wide shot, she looked so astronomically tiny. This is not a big deal. It's not a big deal at all. but I just felt like I needed to comment on it. So those are some of my problems with just the creative realm of this movie and how I think that Marvel should learn from it. But let's move on to the marketing part of this movie, because I think that Marvel has completely lost it when it comes to marketing. I really wanted to know what this movie would have looked like marketing wise without using the Red Hulk. They went really deep on the Red Hulk in every poster and every trailer, when the Red Hulk doesn't even show up until the very end of this movie. As an audience member, I knew exactly where this movie was headed, at least ending wise, because they showed that entire third act in the trailers. And I really wish Marvel tried to market this film without relying on these big, massive characters. Remember the Guardians of the Galaxy trailer, or even Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2? Those entire trailers consisted mostly of the first act of their films, and they gave nothing away, even teasing Ego as a normal character and not the main villain, or Spider-Man Far From Home. They teased Mysterio as a hero and not a villain. Now for comic fans, everyone knows who Mysterio is or who Ego is, but Marvel still refused to spoil these characters in their actual trailers. They kept it all a secret. I really wish Marvel did this with this movie, and I think Marvel should learn from this. They need to go back to realizing that most of the people who watch these movies are not these massive comic book fans, so you can keep things under wraps as well as not spoil where the story is heading. Part of me also wonders how they could have marketed this without the Red Hulk and leaned on it more being more of a government espionage movie like The Winter Soldier was, and also leaned more onto Samuel Stearns as the main villain instead of the Red Hulk. That way at least we wouldn't totally know where this movie was going. We would know that Samuel Stearns was the main villain of this film, and that would kind of ruin his reveal around halfway through this movie, but at least they would have saved the entire third act. And it certainly beats what they actually did with spoiling both the Red Hulk and Samuel Stearns. Since they went the Red Hulk route in terms of marketing, there was no reason to give away that Samuel Stearns is in this movie. There was no reason to put him in the trailer, which brings me to my next point, that Marvel has a serious problem with spoiling these characters in their marketing campaigns. Similar to how I knew how the whole third act was going to go down because they revealed the Red Hulk, the Samuel Stearns revealed also revealed the entire first half of the movie, because I knew Samuel Stearns was there and he was behind everything. There's a whole scene where Ross phones someone and is like, is the prisoner there? And it was supposed to make us think it was Isaiah Bradley, but the setting was entirely different, and all the questions of who is behind this was very obvious because they already spoiled that Samuel Stearns was in this movie. Marvel really needs to go back to marketing their movies without spoiling cameos or giving too much away. They become way too reliant on having these cameos in their trailers, thinking people will show up for the already spoiled cameos. That's what the point of a cameo is. It's like an unexpected thing. That's what it's supposed to be. But speaking of giving away spoilers, I am shocked, and I mean shocked, that they did not give away that Bucky was in this movie. That was such a nice little surprise, even though we kind of knew it was coming, right? Falcon and the Winter Soldier. But I still applaud them for not spoiling that in the trailer. But overall, I do think they need to rework their entire marketing strategy. Imagine the word of mouth buzz. Imagine the repeat viewings and how many people would show up week after week if they kept the Red Hulk a secret. That could have been really something, and not just to help with marketing, but imagine that as an audience member, seeing the Red Hulk come to life for the first time, not knowing this was coming in this movie. That is what they should have strived for. I can't believe I'm about to praise Sony here. It'll just roll with me for a little bit. But remember that moment in No Way Home when Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire showed up? We all knew this was kind of coming based off of the blocking in the trailer, right? But it was still phenomenal to get that confirmed in the theater watching it as an audience member. That is what Marvel should strive for. Now I'm talking a lot of shit about Marvel and Captain America Brave New World, and I still firmly enjoyed this film. I do think there's a lot to enjoy, like Sam Wilson as Captain America, staying true to Sam Wilson's character, the aerial flight sequence, and also the starting stages of bringing the Avengers back, because it seems like they were kind of lost. But that doesn't mean that I don't think that they can learn from this entire film and also beef up their entire marketing strategy. But what do you all think about this? Do you think that Marvel needs to pivot and change things? Do you think there's other things I didn't talk about? Let me know in the comments, but before you do, please just keep in mind that all of this is very hard. It's very easy to talk shit. It's very easy to say this in hindsight after we already saw it. Doesn't necessarily excuse it, right? But just try to keep that in mind with your critiques. And as always, if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I appreciate all my subscribers. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps the videos out. If you enjoyed this video, I put out new videos every single week talking about the film and TV industry. I don't just talk about Marvel, so I'd love to have you here. I'm trying to break 350, so if you get those numbers up, that'd be cool. But if you do subscribe, I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.